Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, could interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people. For I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. It means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.
Nigel R.T. New City. I'm here with Nigel Nicholson, and we have, I believe we have an article to get out there in the open, get it on the record tonight. Read by none other than Nigel Nicholson, PI from Brooklyn, New York. And whenever you're ready, Nigel, take it away, brother.
Okay. So thanks a lot, R.T. And again, we have to, as PIs, do our diligent research, do our research diligently in terms of trying to expose this crime against us, not just the non-consensual human experimentation program, but also the coercive persuasion program that have many different components to it, right? There are many different psychological operations, psychological warfare, psychological manipulation, dark NLP, psychological programming, all these things are into this one coercive persuasion program that goes alongside the non-consensual human experimentation program, as well as the illegal microchipping of human beings, and the cover-up, right, which is the use of the psychiatric industry and those around the PIs to participate in psychological harassment, and also labeling the targeted individual with a mental illness in order to discredit them. Okay? But interesting thing, I remember early this year I was watching a video, this is a video on Vice, and it talks, this is a video, this report, or this, so it's in a documentary style, and it talks about how the police in the UK were using predictive software to try to predict which individual will most likely commit a crime, and then send them letters. Like, let's say, if you know someone who might be a gang member, even though you're not a gang member, but you guys go together, you may see that person on the street, you shake hands with them, hey, what's up, big bro, have you? It doesn't matter if you haven't seen this person in years. The fact that you just happen to come back to your neighborhood, your old stomping ground, the person that you shook hands with them, that person, and individual within those gangs are being watched by the police, right? And when you shake hands with an individual, now that becomes a chain reaction, because now you become linked to that individual, that gang member. And so now you're being watched. And what they'll do is that they'll send you a letter stating that, you will be watched, and if you commit any crimes or anything like that, you will be arrested. Okay? Never knowing who you are, or anything like that, but the fact that, they're being watched and you happen to interact with someone that they're watching is enough for them to not also use facial recognition to identify who you are, but to look up your address, to actually surveil you, right? And to actually send you a letter, or to have police officers show up at your door to try and intimidate you. So you think this is just all in the UK, right? And but it's not. And let me see if I can put the Vice article here. You think this is all just in the UK, right? But it's not. Believe me, it is not. It is also here in the United States. Particularly, the NYPD has the same sort of program. Okay? And so when RT sent me the link, I've heard about it before, but I wasn't too sure. I personally like New York City engaging in these things, but I wasn't too sure about it because I just didn't know. But now I can tell you, yes, that the NYPD definitely has a predictive policy, a crime policy, in which they, I'll read the article, but I just want to, I just want to read these articles. But first, I want to put up, I'm trying to find the Vice article so I can read it alongside. what is what I will be reading. So, okay, so this is from early this year, okay, and this is from Vice. I'm going to read the Vice first, and this is from, again, February 6, 2019. From, it says, dozens of cities have secretly experimented with predictive policy and predictive policing software. Documents obtained by a motherboard using public information requests verifies previous unconfirmed police department contracts with predictive policing company PedPol. The use of PedPol, a predictive policing software that once advocated for a controversial, unproven, broken windows approach to law enforcement, is far more widespread than previously reported, according to the documents obtained by motherboard using public record requests. PedPol claimed to use an algorithm to predict crime in specific 500-foot by 500-foot section of a city so that police can patrol or surveil specific areas more heavily. Now, don't this should sound like the Minority Report to you, right? The documents obtained by motherboard, which includes PedPol contract documents, instructional manuals, and slide presentations for using the software as PedPol contract negotiations, email with government officials were obtained from the police department in South Jordan, Utah, Mountain View, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Haverhill, Georgia, Palo Alto, California, Modesto, California, Merced, California, Livermore, California, Tacoma, Washington, and the University of California, Berkeley, using police public requests. These cities and municipalities are home to over 1 million people, according to the most recent census data available. In October, Boyd, Corey Doctorow, published a story speculating that these cities had contracts with PedPol based on an anonymous researcher's study of the company URL structure and login portal. These documents confirm these cities have or had relationship with the company. One of the documents the company gave to police that was obtained by motherboard note that predictive policing benefits potential offenders by preventing them from committing crimes, that one less chance for them to run afoul of the legal system, and that does benefit them, it says. Other documents shared with law enforcement list some of PedPol's former customers, including an additional 15 American and British cities. One of the documents notes the company has many more customers that have not been listed. The company also retains sensitive crime data indefinitely on servers owned by a third party. Previous reports state that California cities, Los Angeles, Elgin, Oakland, Richmond, and Milpitas, which collectively had a population of more than 4.72 million, all use PedPol software at one point. The most recent available documents obtained by motherboard show that Modesto, Merced, and the University of California, Berkeley still have contracts with the company. Livermore does not plan to renew its contract with PedPol, which ends this month, according to these documents. PedPol slide presentation include a document also claiming that the company had current and near-term deployment in Santa Cruz, California, Morgan Hill, California, Fairfield, California, Los Gatos, California, Monte Sereno, California, Campbell, California, Salinas, California, Alhambra, California, Lansing, Michigan, Seattle, Washington, San Francisco, California, Columbia, South Carolina, and Manhattan, Kansas as of 2013. As of 2014, another PedPol slide presentation claimed the company has also had current and near-term deployment in Little Rock, Arkansas, Kent, England, Reading, Pennsylvania, and many more. Motherboard has not confirmed if these contracts are still ongoing by police departments in California, Colombia, San Francisco, and Los Angeles. Told Motherboard they have no responsive documents in response to public record requests filed with these agencies. When reached for comment by Motherboard, Petco CEO Brian McDonald said that the number of active Petco customers is a confidential internal matrix. So, how predictive is crime? Petco explicitly encouraged police departments to dedicate their resource towards petty crime, according to documents acquired using public records document last year. Problem solving that is oriented towards reducing misdemeanor crimes may also reduce felony crimes, one document reads. Petco generates place-specific crime forecast police officers on a scale as small as 500 by 500 feet, which can pinpoint in some cases individual houses or group of houses. These forecasts were generated assuming that certain crimes committed at a particular time are more likely to occur in the same place in the future. The history of crime in a particular area can be visualized on a 3, 7, 14, and 28-day scale. Petco boxes are chosen using only the what, when, and where of incidents that had already occurred in your city. A Petco document entitled How Predictive is Crime and share with the city of Tacoma reads. We take anywhere from 3 to 10 years of crime data and run the relevant points of information through our algorithm. Long and short-term needs, trends, recurring events, and environmental factors are all taken into account. Petco recommends policy in areas where crime have already been reported. Criminology experts have pointed out that while this approach helps direct and organize policing, it doesn't ensure that better or improving policing will occur. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing because there's a lot here. So I'm going to get on to, I'm going to read certain things. Let me just, it says Andrew Ferguson, a law professor at the University of the District of Columbia School of Law, told Multiple that even though it's been implemented in police departments around the country, we don't know whether predictive policing is effective at reducing crime. There have been a lack of objective science about efficiency and effectiveness of predictive policing, Ferguson said. There really hasn't been much external validation of whether the technology works, what it even means, what are you comparing it to, and there have been a lack of research and science on that. A section of the How Predictable is Crime document cites that potential privacy and constitutional concerns and ignore the fact that policing certain areas is likely to disproportionately affect people of color. Although they might not see it this way, it benefits potential offenders. If you're preventing them from committing a crime, that's one less chance they have to run afoul of the legal system. And that does benefit them. Jeffrey Brangenham, Chief of Research and Development of Petco, wrote in the document. Crime prevention benefits everybody. I can't see how that wouldn't be an appropriate direction to move. Of course they will say that. You know, these are white people sitting behind their chairs in these big houses away from everybody else. Okay? And then they're only targeting petty crimes, right? So petty crimes. Well, what about the white-collar crimes committed by whites? What about the serial killers whose vast majority are committed by whites? What about those people, right? But the petty crimes, because of course they're going to affect most likely people of color, right? Black people, Hispanic people, right? And so, again, this is just another thing, and just like in the video, and you guys can go on YouTube and read the video, if you just Vice video on predictive policing in the UK, you'll see that the majority of people who is on the video talking about this whole thing are black, right? Black people, black men, young black men. And so, you know, this shit is ridiculous, but this is something that they do, and it's like they try to be, you know, minority report, basically, you know, without a doubt. This is what they're doing. Forget perpetuate this type of criminality that they say is inherent within people of color, particularly black and brown men, right? And so, you know, they don't talk about a lot of the stuff, again, a lot of crimes, particularly in poor areas where you have the majority of white people, right? You're not seeing them. You're not talking about those people. And they commit the same petty crimes that other poor communities of color commit. Okay? So, you know, these things have biases, and it has been proven that they have biases. All right, let's go to the next document, which is from the Brennan Center, right? And it says, quote, public deserves, so the quote says, the public deserves to know how the NYPD used predictive policy and software. So now, I just read some of the articles on some of the things on devices from February or January early this year, right? And they mentioned a whole bunch of cities, but New York City was one of them. But lo and behold, guess what? New York City is one of them, right? And so the New York State Supreme Court ordered the NYPD to produce substantially more records about their predictive policing program. And again, this is from, and the article I read was from this year, right? This article here I'm reading out is from last year, January 26th of 2018, right? So that's to tell you, the NYPD has been doing this shit for a long time, right? So, and they probably have their own version of this software that they bought or helped create. And this is what I got to tell you guys about the NYPD. Okay, when I talk about the NYPD, and I think R.T. is the one that came in the article talking about NYPD being the little CIA, what they're called, right? They're called the little CIA, right? Because a lot of things that the CIA do, the NYPD has now taken on as part of their ability to do these things also, right? And they will travel to Israel to buy software, to hack into phones and to hack into computer systems and stuff like that. They will send police officers all throughout the world to train on counterterrorism and all sorts of stuff, to be spies and all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? In which your city police department should not be doing. But this is what the NYPD is doing. Not just the NYPD, but the Los Angeles Police Department, also the Chicago Police Department. You know, in Chicago, they actually, one precinct actually had what they call a black site. A black site is a CIA coined word or term that means that it is a facility in which you bring, you know, people who have been a rendition, you bring suspects, you bring, you know, prisoners of war in order so you can torture them. This is what they were doing in Chicago also, right? So, and just to tell you guys something also, if you can't use your mind to realize that here in the NYPD, New York City, that the NYPD also has black sites. You just haven't found them out yet. But trust me when I tell you that they do, okay? Because if one large city police department has one, or a couple, trust me, they all do, right? They just need to be found out. So, the Brennan Center won a significant victory in the fight for government transparency and surveillance oversight last month when the New York State Supreme Court, the state trial court, ordered the NYPD to produce records about testing, development, and use of predictive analysis tools in response to the Brennan Center ongoing Article 78 litigation. The litigation stemmed from a Freedom of Information Law, FOIL, request submitted by the Brennan Center in June 2016. So we're going back 2016. So that means by 2015, 14, they probably had an idea this was going on. Okay? And they had some evidence that, yes, the NYPD was committed or was doing this, right? So, in 2016, for records about predictive policing. Predictive policing uses computer models to try to anticipate crime and to manage when and where police officers are deployed. Algorithms, analyses, historical data to predict where certain crimes may occur and sometimes even who may be involved in a future crime. Predictive policy and software has been not that word here. Enthusiastically, yes, there you go. Yeah, the word to Google the one coming, I pronounced it. So it says predictive policing software have been enthusiastically adopted by law enforcement agencies in recent years. In recent years, and again, this is from article from 2018, right? And so we're going back again when they filed the lawsuit, which was in June. Well, not filed a lawsuit, but they filed a Freedom of Information law request in June of 2016, right? So, it says, so predictive police software have been enthusiastically adopted by law enforcement agencies in recent years, championed by proponents of as a tool to cut costs, improve police effectiveness, and even potentially improve fairness in policing. Yet, most of these tools rely on historical policing data to generate their predictions. In the absence of meaningful oversight and transparency, the software may instead simply recreate and obscure the origin of racially biased policing. Unfortunately, the nature of the tool often frustrates efforts to hold police accountable. Most of the software involves the use of black box algorithms, often purchased from a third-party commercial software provider to generate predictions from historical data. The use of private companies can sometimes introduce additional complications to transparency, introducing questions of trade secrets and intellectual property information. The Brennan Center filed the original FOIA request in the interest of better understanding and informing the public about the use of these systems. The request sought documents including communications with private developers about predictive policy software, historical input and output of software, records on testing and utilization of the software, audit logs, and policies and procedures governing the use of predictive policing. If obtained, these records would help evaluate the costs and benefits of predictive policing system and assess whether the system was subject to sufficient oversight and accountability. Yet the NYPD issued blanket denial of both the initial request and the subsequent appeal, forcing the Brennan Center to file suit in December of 2016. After months of good faith negotiation in which the Brennan Center narrowed its request to exclude the algorithm itself as well as the most recent 6 months worth of input and output, the NYPD produced some documents with significant redactions, but continued to withhold most of the records requested by the Brennan Center. On August 30th, 2017, the court heard oral arguments. In brief and at oral arguments, the NYPD sought to keep these outstanding documents secret. Their attorney claimed that releasing vendors' correspondence would reveal trade secret information and jeopardize future communication with potential vendors, arguing that the NYPD had agreed to keep producing tested and performance information strictly confidential. Actually, the non-disclosure agreement signed between the third-party vendors in this instance and the NYPD only covered NYPD information. There was no countervailing argument for NYPD to maintain the confidentiality of the vendors. Additionally, they claimed the disclosure of historical data, output data, and notes about the types and sources of data used could enable individuals to recreate the prediction of the NYPD and somehow game the system. The court was unconvinced, finding that the NYPD had failed to offer any expert testimony to support its claim about trade secrets and security. The court ordered the NYPD to produce email correspondence with predictive policy police and software vendors with only limited identifying information redacted. Historical output data from the existing predictive policing system up through June of 2017, and notes from the NYPD Assistant Commissioner of Data analysts, analytics, who developed the predictive policy and algorithms currently in use. The NYPD was also ordered to produce a summary of results of trials that the department conducted of several vendors' products. The judge will review those records to determine whether any part of them is covered by a deliberative process privilege, and then presumably order disclosure of the remainder. These materials should offer additional insights into both the existing system and the specification that the NYPD discussed with vendors previously under consideration. In addition, the court ordered the NYPD to expand its search for responsive documents to include the Counterterrorism Bureau and to submit an affidavit about the results no later than the middle of March. The NYPD searched only 3 departments for responsive documents and issued a conclusory statement that the search was complete, claiming that those departments were the only ones that could reasonably be expected to have relevant information. The Counterterrorism Bureau was never searched, yet the NYPD has said publicly that the predictive policy system is housed within the department's domain awareness system, which is itself located in the Counterterrorism Bureau. Finally, in response to the Brennan Center request for policies governing the predictive policing system, the NYPD produced a single private policy document from 2009. So check this out. From 2009, these motherfuckers have been doing this shit. Okay, probably even going back earlier too, right? But the more you keep reading, you see how far this shit goes back, right? See how far down the rabbit hole goes, right? This 8-year-old policy, the Public Security Privacy Guidelines, governs the use of the domain awareness system, which encompasses technology developed in public spaces as part of the counterterrorism program of the NYPD Counterterrorism Bureau. The policy, by its terms, has no application to predictive policy, which is not a technology deployed in public spaces and purport to be a tool for strategic decision making in policing rather than a mechanism for counterterrorism, indicating that the NYPD has no policy in place that explicitly governs the use of predictive policies or the sharing and retention of the data produced. The guideline also required the NYPD to perform audits of the domain awareness system if the policy applies to the predictive policing system. That means the department will be required to audit the system as well. NYPD offered no audit documents, however, after confirming that it has done a diligent search for responsive records, which suggests either that it is not complying with its own policy or that it is continuing to withhold relevant material. At the same time, the NYPD produced a paper co-written by Stephen Levine, the NYPD Assistant Commissioner of Data Analytics, describing the predictive policy system and domain awareness system, which cites statistics about the effectiveness of their predictive policy algorithm. The NYPD must have run tests on their program to come up with those statistics, but no record of these tests was ever released to the Brennan Center. In the course of August 2017 hearing, the NYPD attorney suggests that the police department regularly ignores 4 requests until the requester gives up or files suit. While the Brennan Center is pleased that the court ultimately granted the majority of the original requests, the general lack of transparency around law enforcement practices, particularly with respect to the use of predictive policy software, is deeply concerning. Citizens have the right to know about the tools, costs, and standard practice of law enforcement agencies that police their community. In this case, it took a year and a half and the lawsuit to ultimately get even a portion of the information that should have been made available to the public at the outset. As Judge Barbara Jeffrey wrote in her opinion on the Brennan Center for Litigation, government transparency is a transcendent virtue. The Brennan Center is committed to continuing in its fight for government transparency and look forward to police to providing analysts are the documents produced as a result of this order. Okay, so this is from the Brennan Center. It is an article that they wrote talking about this stuff. And again, this stuff goes back for years and years and years. Okay, and this is a very it says stay up to date. It says informed citizens are our best. Sorry, informed citizens are our democracy's best defense. So you have to be informed. As a TI, not even as a TI, but other, if you were not a TI, you have to be informed about what's going on. Okay? They've been doing this shit for years, creating software, developing software, based on predictive policies, kind of like the fucking movie Minority Report. Excuse me for cursing. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like, when did the movie Minority Report came out in theater? Okay, so that we know that if this is, and sometimes they say life imitates art and art imitates life, but I think that movie, a lot of these movies, they get the idea from technology that's being created and developed, right, by the government and also by tech agencies, right? And so this is the thing here, you know what I'm saying? So was the movie Minority Report based off of this type of technology that the police have been using? Okay, so Minority Report came out in 2002. Okay?
Just wanted to add real quick. I'm not sure if you received what I sent you last, but there was a documentary that was also made that you had put us up on a while back called Pre-Crime.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's basically showing what you had pretty much said on this particular article that, they by algorithms, mathematical algorithms, determine whether or not you're going to be a criminal offender or just guilt by association by knowing someone who's in the gang member that you happen to walk by and shake their hand, shit like that. I believe it was this young brother from Chicago. I'm not sure, don't quote me on that, but I believe that was the state that they showed how he was being pretty much looked into and observed. And what they told them is like what you said earlier, that they'll go to your crib, they'll go to your house, they'll show up, and they'll hand you a letter letting you know that you're being surveyed. Shit like that. So that correlates with everything you were saying in regards to the Minority Report movie reference, the documentary Pre-Crime, which I'm going to add it to this particular description within this call so other people can check it out if they don't already know about it, can look into it. That's what I wanted to say about you.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So yeah, so and the Intercept, which is a news organization ran by Glenn Greenwald and Laura Fortress, who work for The Guardian, which is the article I had read before. But they work for the Guardian, right? So they published these documents that were submitted to the NYPD, right? And the NYPD had received many requests, and these are all dated. You can see the date all the way from September 27, 2015. Okay, let's see if they go back even further, right? So these documents here is really telling, right? So from January 2015, they send requests to the NYPD about this stuff, the request of this. Because again, they have to have known. So how did they know? How did they know? Was there whistleblowers within the NYPD that basically said, hey, this is what they're up to, because there have been, because the example, right? How did we find out that the NYPD had an X-ray van, right? That they were driving around X-raying people. Then they try to say, well, we're only doing this with vehicles. Well, there's people walking by the street every single day at night, right? So if they're x-raying a vehicle and somebody walks by, they're exposing that individual to radiation. It could be a child, a baby, you know what I'm saying? A young child, a young kid, or adult, what have you. But that would say that they're up to a lot of shit. And that's why, particularly with the microchip for remote monitoring, and again, like they try to expose us to some people to this, because I was microchipped at a precinct, the NYPD precinct. That's where I received my microchip. That was the first one. The second one was here in my house, and I've received many after that in terms of, because these microchips, they fail. After a couple of years, they fail, and then they got to do it again. And so from time to time, every few years, I would wake up in the morning, and then I would my first response was to touch my nose. And I touched my nose, and I would be in so much pain because the pain was so excruciating, right? And I'm like, what's ever happened? Why? And again, it happened, and I could say this, it happened either twice or three times before. So I know I probably have, even though probably the rest of the other chips are probably died off or dead or whatever because they were in operational, but the newest version they put in, I know it's there. And if you're a TI guy, if you've ever experienced that, where you're just sleeping and you wake up and it's like your nose just starts, you touch your nose and you just want to scream out in pain, right? That's because there's probably microchip you again, right? Because there's just no explanation as to why that would happen. Particularly if you haven't got punched in the nose or anything like that. But you just, when you go to bed, you wake up in the morning, and the first action you get up is to touch your nose because you made subconsciously know that's the thing as well, right? It's like some people who are experimented on and they're being put on with drugs. Because even though they're still sleeping, but sometimes the drug may not have a full effect to sedate them, and so they may see certain things, open their eyes, see certain things just happening and such and such, right? But this is what happened. But the NYPD has been implanting people with microchips for decades. Okay, so it's not just the predictive policing stuff like that, but the implantation of microchips, right, for the purpose of remote monitoring and to track the individual. Okay, so let me read. This is a non-disclosure agreement, individual non-disclosure. This is to Frank Bello, Assistant Commissioner of the NYPD Contract Administration Unit. Okay, and this is from the Brennan Center, right? And it says, I'm one of the persons in my organization that will be given access to the work performed under the above reference agreement and its content related to a possible predictive forecasting of crime solution project, the project for the NYPD. Unless I receive express written permission from an authorized representative from the NYPD Police Department to vary the terms of the agreement, I hereby agree to the following, and this is, I understand, I agree that this non-disclosure agreement shall provide the completion of the project, if any, between the NYPD and the contractors to provide the services or goods identified described above. Hereinafter referred to as the contract. This non-disclosure agreement shall apply even if the contractor or a subcontractor defaults, or if the contract is otherwise terminated and is not awarded this contract. This non-disclosure agreement shall apply even if I leave the employment of the contractor or a subcontractor or supplier. Okay, now this is not from the different. This is right. This is from. Okay, this is from the senior software developer. So this is Dennis Haskins. Senior software. I guess he might be the person who is the go-between between the contractor and the NYPD. But yeah, it shows you that this is what they've been up to, man. It says I understand that it says okay, so I will not at any time disclose, permit the disclosure or release disseminate, or transfer confidential information to any person unless an authorized representative of the NYPD has given express written consent, or I, the person has signed the NYPD non-disclosure agreement and is or may be directly involved in the work performed. The term person will be interpreted broadly to include, without limitation, any corporation, company, individual, partnerships, or individuals. I understand the NYPD will pursue to the full and permissible extent of the law, criminal prosecution, and all civil action for failure to comply with the terms of this non-disclosure agreement. So this guy, so then you have, okay, so these are non-disclosure agreements by the NYPD and the middleman or between the contractor and the NYPD. And each of these have different signatures on it. So different people that's been working on this stuff, right? Let's see, if someone has the same, no, it's different. This is different. Okay. So then it goes on to documents that state. I'm gonna I think RT should post the article right from the Intercept so that the listeners and the viewers can go to the article itself and find the information. I was going to do that. Yes, because we were talking about the FBI and some of the stuff, right? That of course the NYPD is in on it for the FBI. It's not just for that, but also the CIA, right, and the NSA. Okay, all right. So let's move on and let's talk about information that was given to RT by my brother Neil. It talks about the confidential human source policy guide, right? And again, this is from the Intercept. Right, the Bureau of Investigations, Director of Intelligence, and this is from September 21st, 2015. Right, it says, in a non-affiliate approach, the FBI agent does not volunteer that he or she is with the FBI, but the agent is not permitted to use a disguise or cover identity. So what I'm reading here, this is the Confidential Human Source Policy Guide from the FBI, right? So when they go to recruit people, right, this is the guideline and how they do it, right? So in a covert approach, the FBI agent takes on a false identity for the purpose of recruiting someone to be an informant. Covert informant recruitment is not subject to the 5 meetings limitation that governs most FBI undercover activities. When registering on websites, FBI employees use a covert approach, using a covert approach may use an alias or a throwaway email account, but are permitted to provide only a minimum amount of information. The limitations, for example, would hinder the FBI ability to set up covert social media profiles, as FBI employees are not permitted to provide such data as photographs or interests. The FBI can recruit clergy, prison guards, even minors. Okay, wow. Even minors. So you see these little perps running around, they preteen or they teen, they're even younger than that. So the FBI recruits them. Okay? And check this out. Let me read this, okay? The range of potential recruits is surprisingly vast. In serious cases, the FBI may use privileged information from sensitive sources, including lawyers, physicians, clergy, and journalists, right? Assuming proper authorization. FBI agents may recruit prison guards and other prison officials as informants. The FBI can even recruit minors. If a minor has been emancipated, he or she is eligible to receive service payment for work as an informant. If the minor is not emancipated, his or her parents ought to receive the service payment. So even the parents, right, will sell their child out to the FBI to be an informant. Can you imagine that shit? Wow. It's crazy. Yo, this shit is wild. The end of the line. The document for the first time makes clear that the FBI is required to assist immigration authorities in locating an informant once he or she is no longer of value to the bureau. So once you let's say if you're here illegally and what have you, and you're here illegally, you're saying that they no longer of value to them, they'll send immigration on your ass to deport you, right? These motherfuckers. Wow. Significant public benefit role. FBI agents may use this program to keep an inadmissible or deportable informant in the country if he or she can assist investigations or provide national security information. Deferred action. FBI agents may use this program to establish legal reentry into the United States of an immigration source who lacks legal status. Payment disguised as reimbursement. The FBI implicitly acknowledged the temptation to disguise service payments to sources such as expense reimbursement, instructed agents not to consider the effect at trial when paying informants. Right? Informants can make a lot of money. And see, that's a lot of the reason why some of these motherfuckers out here doing this shit. Right? A special agent in charge has the authority to pay each of his office informant up to $100,000 per year. Right? However, informants may earn substantially more as long as each additional $100,000 is approved by successively higher level within the field, which deputy director approval, according to the policy guide, the informant may earn more than $500,000 per year, more than half the effing million. Man, it pays to be a snitch. I guess that's why they do it. That's why they're driving these fancy cars and shit. You know, motherfuckers ain't working nowhere. They're hanging out on the fucking block. Yeah, they're driving these fancy cars. And they show that they ain't doing drugs. They ain't selling drugs. You know that. Okay? But they all of a sudden they're having fancy cars and shit, right? Even after a fact, shield informant from questioning. While this document does not specify the timing, lump sum payments are generally provided after the trial, saving the informant and a federal prosecutor from having to disclose the full amount of compensation an informant will receive, and thereby limiting a defense lawyer ability to undermine the informant's credibility. The FBI operates closely overseas. The FBI may deploy informants in countries around the globe without having to notify the host countries of their presence. Wow. FBI legal attachés or legates are central to this capacity. Legates are stationed in U.S. embassies, and their official duty is to serve as liaison between the FBI and the law enforcement agencies of other nations. The legat can also function as the FBI version of CIA station chiefs, intelligence agents operating in other countries under nominal State Department cover. Wow, this shit is crazy. Okay, so let's get all right. So that's all it says, but there is a document that are attached to it, and you know, it's unbelievable. It's not unbelievable. It's an eye opener. Okay. So again, this is from the Intercept, and it's called Confidential Human Source Policy Guide. Okay, you guys can Google it, go read up about it. Very, very important information that we all need to know. You know, we need to be informed, right? And that's the whole thing. We really need to be informed, right? Let's see if I can go back. Academics confirm major predictive policy algorithm. Once again, what else it says? It says genetic profiling and predictive policy are taken. Let me read this. This from 2014. Wow. Okay. Now, when I was searching for surveillance, I could not find it. You know, all of a sudden, it's here now, they've probably been hiding the shit, messing with our search engines so that we wouldn't find these articles. So this is from March 6, 2014. It says genetic profiling and predictive policing are taking us to the pre-crime future. And as we head there, the potential for abuse is growing. Philip K. Dick's version of a future in which people are arrested for crimes they haven't yet committed is so plausible that researchers at Stanford sat down to talk about it. The takeaway was simple. DNA profiling is changing the face of law enforcement, and the potential for abuse is growing. The representation last week at the School Center for Biomedical Ethics opened with a chip from the 2002 film, with a clip from the so let me read this again. The presentation last week at the School Center for Biomedical Ethics opened with a clip from the 2002 film Minority Report, in which Tom Cruise and Colin Farrell waxed philosophical about the nature of cause and effect and predetermination. In the movie, adapted from the 1956 short story by Dick, mutant clairvoyants floated in a hot tub relay glimpse of future murders to a pre-crime police division. In real life, we are creeping into the early stage of seeking similar psychic assurance through genetic profiling. We already do what's called predictive policing or hotspot policing, which is based on statistics of where certain crimes happen, says Colleen Berashier, program director at Stanford Center for Integration of Research on Genetics and Ethics. Now we are getting into looking at the behaviors of individuals to predict whether they might commit a violent act, and genetics is part of that. It's far removed from pre-crime, but they are definitely steps. There are definitely steps in that direction. The possibilities of genetic profiling are pretty spooky in that they undermine basic notions of morality, willpower, and individual responsibility. Taken to its extreme, the idea of a society steeped in genealogical gospel invites comparison to another film, Gattaca, in which drops of blood slot people into certain social castes from birth. I remember that movie. That movie is I think Ethan Hawke, where they scan your blood and if you belong to the upper echelon and so forth and so forth. And everybody who has like a different type of blood, they're the lower caste of the society. Okay? Taking that a step further into the notion of crime fighting, excited or frightening as they may sound, pre-crime would totally upend our establishment order of criminal justice, which is punitive in nature. An obvious starting point when considering the potential for pre-crime is the rise of DNA database. According to Interpol, 54 countries had invested in DNA database in 2009. The number has grown since then, as has the scope of what those databases collect. One of the most ambitious endeavor is happening in the United Arab Emirates, which began amassing a central DNA database of its 5.5 citizens, including the native Bedouins. Started in 2006, it will be one of the largest DNA databases on the planet. In 2010, the UK passed a Crime and Security Act, allowing cops to swab the cheeks of convicted criminals and add the sample to a DNA database containing millions of profiles. UK authorities had initially allowed for indefinite detention of DNA information until two people acquitted of crimes and who didn't want their genetic data to be kept on record brought their case to the European Court of Human Rights and won. The largest DNA database on earth is the FBI CODIS cache, which holds genetic information about 11 million people suspected or convicted of crimes, according to the AP. Last year, the Supreme Court upheld a ruling allowing law enforcement agencies to extract DNA, no warrant necessary. If anybody who has been arrested, the federal gene bank is only going to grow. The rationale behind building the database is that gene identifiers will facilitate speedier and more accurate justice through forensic science. In the U.S., DNA has been used to exonerate dozens of men convicted of rape and murder. Currently, they function like elaborate fingerprint systems, but it's easy to imagine authorities looking the other way to squeeze answers from genetics. It has occurred in some U.S. lawmakers. It has occurred to some U.S. lawmakers to push for data analysis that could illuminate trends in the data. If research connects a certain genetic characteristic to a certain type of sex offender, using that information to suss out other potential sex offender would be no-brainer. Okay, so basically what they're saying here is that if, let's say they got a bunch of sex offenders and they take their DNA, and there's something that's very consistent with each of them, like there's something that's like a marker that each of them has that other people may not have. So what they'll do is that they'll go through all their database and look for that marker, and anybody who has the potential to be a sex offender, they're going to arrest them, they're going to knock on your door and say, hey man, you know, there's a chance that you might be a sex offender. We're going to be watching you, okay? I mean, that shit is unbelievable. You know? That shit is crazy, man. Okay, we are building the blocks towards what that Minority Report Gallagher Sanitation aspect. It wouldn't be a radical extension of preventative law enforcement in the future, the ASO said, but it would be cause for some major ethical concerns. Already, authorities have been phenotyping crime scene samples to try and get a head start on identifying perpetrators by their physical characteristics. It's a slippery slope because we can only extract vague indicators like a person's ethnicity. Unless we're talking about red hair, that one is easy. As University of Leeds criminal law professor Carol McCarthy put in the 2010 paper, it will have to be determined just how helpful it may be to say to an investigator the suspect may be curious. The common perception is that DNA is a kind of silver bullet in crime fighting. It does not lie, cannot be faked or manipulated, and yes, it can. And this is again is an old article, but yes, DNA can be manipulated and it can be faked because the person who is handling the DNA can manipulate it, right? So even that shit they're talking about right now, that's a lie. And even that can account for specific behavior. People tend to put a lot of stock in the idea that a genetic identity and origin can explain how or where a person ends up. So yes, I said, researchers call the blind faith in forensic science the CSI effect, in reference to the primetime TV series that presents an imperfect science as infallible crime magic to millions of American viewers. It's crucial to distinguish objective scientific analysis of DNA from the subjective process of how that DNA was collected. For example, a sweep of a hotel room where there was a murder could potentially turn up samples of everyone who has been in that room, not just the killer. Juries no longer need to be convinced of the accuracy or reliability of DNA evidence, McCarthy wrote. Indeed, the concern is now that jurors may be far too easily persuaded by DNA and may even demand it before they will convict. So, for example, right, I don't know if you guys read the article about the lab person in Boston who was trying to make, be good on good terms with the DA and stuff like that. And what she was doing, she was basically with the blood samples so that they collected and give to the lab to see if the person was on drugs or what have you, or the DNA of the batch of the suspect of that person, that she faked a lot of that shit. Okay, that she sent thousands of people, innocent people, in jail. Okay, so when they talk about DNA cannot be manipulated, that's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And then they had another case with another woman, another lab person in down south, South Carolina, one of those southern states. She was doing the same thing too. Okay? So come on, right? How many people have been freed for the DNA and then have been convicted? People have been convicted of based on their DNA and have been freed based on the DNA because the DNA that was taken was the wrong DNA, and the DNA was attached to to that person when it wasn't that person's DNA, right? So come on, essential part. Yep. Mm-hmm. And they said that they had DNA evidence, right? That's what they said, right? I mean, come on. Right. And then it turns out years later that the DNA didn't match. But the DNA matched, but the DNA didn't match. So come on. You know? This shit is ridiculous, bro. But this is these motherfuckers, and if people do it, a lot of these motherfuckers are sociopaths. Okay? They're sociopaths and psychopaths thinking that they're doing good, but they're not doing good. They committed murder. They do all kind of shit. Trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking. I mean, come on. Do I need to go in more? Do I really need to go in more? I was in the article creating the crime. Exactly. That's exactly. You know, from that go to protest and go undercover as protesters, and they're really cops starting violent shit. Yeah, exactly. Motherfuckers are crazy. Exactly, right? So, I mean, that just to show you, man. But this is ridiculous. But anyway, it's a long article. I'm not going to read too much of it. And I did read a good amount of it, but I'm not going to read any more of it. And, you guys can check out the article. Again, it's on Vice, right? It's called Genetic Profiling and Predictive Policing for Taking Us to the Pre-Crime Future. Yeah, I was going to ask you that, so I could put it in the link within the description later. Mm-hmm. So you were reading from what? What were you reading from earlier? Like when you first started the call, was that the Vice joint? Yeah, it's also Vice, yeah. All right. Do you have the link to that so you can send it to me so I can put it up in the description? Yeah, I get it. I have it on my computer, so I think I can. Let me see if I can send it to my phone. I should be able to do that. Let's see here. Actually, no, I'm going to post it on Facebook, and then you should get the Pirates side. Oh, well, you started doing it earlier when you were reading. Listen, but this is something. Yeah, this has continued. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm hearing the fire trucks and shit. You know, this is crazy. Yeah, but I'm telling you, this shit is like the way how these people behave like sports children. And basically, they don't want people to talk about the shit that they do now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, man. Like, who is not going to talk about the shit that, you know what I'm saying? Particularly what we go through. Who is not going to talk about that shit? You know what I'm saying? Scared motherfuckers, something that we're not. Yeah. You know? So that shit right there, I'm just like, man, come on. That shit is ridiculous. If you keep trying that shit all they want, that shit ain't going to stop us from exposing their punk asses. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Because that shit is bullshit. You know, we're not about to lie down and be abused and, psychologically manipulated, be microchipped and think that we're not going to talk about this shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's what they want. But that's definitely not what they're going to get back. Exactly. These motherfuckers don't really know. What you gotta do, I don't know if you can do it on your computer or from the computer, copy and paste and shit, and then send it. Yeah, I'm just gonna post it to Facebook, and then I'm gonna go onto my Facebook on my phone, and then I'll copy the link from there. Actually, what I'll do, I'll share the link. So, there you go. Yeah, man, but that shit is, I'm just so loud, man. You know? And like I said, bro, you have to see how a lot of this shit, how they mess with our search engine when we do research for this stuff, because we couldn't find this stuff before. And I know we've tried to find this stuff before, but now I guess maybe these sites they may know what is being done, and so now there's no way that they can, hide the link or try to, that we do a search for the stuff that it actually shows up now. You know what I'm saying? Whereas before it didn't, It's like that. I think I'm not sure if I read the article the last time I was on the call. The article was on, if I remember, about the case in Canada with the 400 people being arrested and shit like that.
Oh yeah,
all that shit. That was right. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, when I did the search for that, I only found it on one news site, which is up in right. And like, what happened to CNN? What happened to What happened to all those other news agencies? Why you haven't been reported on them except for NBC, right? I mean, come on. And also that too, but you talk about the case in Italy also. Again, the trafficking of children, minors, insane, using the school system, And if you think that shit don't go on here in the United States, y'all definitely brain dead, okay? Because if there's reports all over the world of in countries where this shit is happening, okay? I guarantee it's happening here. And it did. I think there was a report was in Florida where you had 60-something people arrested, okay? Because of people arrested because, they were also the trafficking of minors and shit like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on, man.
Yeah, I mean, and now we're talking about police officers, judges, lawyers, doctors, school teachers, you know what I'm saying? I mean, this shit is,
you say
people, man. Yeah, exactly. Okay, man, then you have all the disappearance of black women, young black women across the United States. A lot of them, I don't have been completely disappearing. Right? They get no attention from the police. Nothing is being done to investigate this shit because why? Because the police are involved. They're fucking involved in it.
Right. Yep.
That's
what proves it.
Yeah. Okay, they're involved in that shit.
They're helping covering it up and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. That's why nothing is being done.
I remember that, man. There was a period of time from, I believe, 2016, maybe even before that, 15, around there, where they were showing a lot of that there was a lot of missing persons reports on young black women, and we wanted to be able to put it on. They weren't follow-ups, put it that way. Yep, they weren't really making follow-ups at all. But that's by design, like we're talking about now, in relation to what it's really about when you pull back the veil and you start realizing that it's about sex trafficking, it's about pedophile rape, it's about drug trafficking, all that, human trafficking, all that. Human experimentation, and related to an international cult. You know what I'm saying? That's doing all of this shit, man. Yeah, and participating. And we got motherfuckers that are on the middle of the way, motherfuckers on the low of the way, and the high of the way, from all walks of life participating in this shit. But the ones that are pulling the streets, the ones that are in office, the ones that are working in our local police precincts within the cities, these motherfuckers are low key, but they're involved. Make no mistake about that shit.
Oh, yeah. Hey, man. This shit is deep. This shit is deep. Like I said, these motherfuckers thinking that they're gonna get away with this shit, and we're gonna be quiet about this shit that they're doing. And get the fuck out of here.
We got another thing coming.
Exactly. And that's why they hit us so hard, man. Like I said, they've been hitting me so hard with the microwave and shit like that, and no monitoring, that I can barely concentrate.
Speaking of that, Nigel, if you don't mind, man, going into the next and final segment of the call for the night, man, in relation to the targeting, man, how has it been for you this past few weeks? But for me, it's been intense, with the PSYOPs, with correct energy weapon attacks, the microwave frequency attacks, you know what I'm saying? It's been taking up like 3, 4, 5 notches up for me. So I know you got the same, modeling like crazy as well. Well, hey, as a matter of fact, you know, they hit me hard with that shit when I was on the phone with you, trying to find out about how we're going to do this course tonight. And if you don't mind, man, bringing that into the topic at hand, because it kind of like will permeate and it'll blend in perfect with what we were talking about, how these motherfuckers try to use the technology against, you know, our loved ones, you know, people who are around us, our family, our friends, what have you, know what I'm saying? And how they did it today with you, right?
Oh, hey, man. So I'm in no position. I didn't tell this to Pam. I brought to her attention. I said, you know, every time I got to study, I tell you I have to study. You know, you always do shit to prevent me from studying. You know what I'm saying? And I said, I don't know whether you're doing this consciously or subconsciously, but I'm just letting you know, right? Because it was a Friday night. I told her that I need 3 hours to study. You know, go in the bedroom. You know, for 3 hours, and I'm just going to study. An hour later, she comes in there, starts talking to me, and you know, just distracting me and stuff like that, right? So how I was able to get rid of her was basically I put on one of the video and I turned it really, really loud, and then she got what feel and she leaves, right? And I said to her, I said, why is that? I get the feeling something that you're trying to deter me. I said, I'm trying to be positive, and you're trying to deter me. And again, this is this is just programming. So, you know, particularly when it comes to you know, people of color and shit like that, you know, there's always this where we're trying to pull each other down. You know what I'm saying? Like you see somebody trying to, you know, the positive, somebody gotta come in and try to pull them back. You know what I'm saying? Or try to make them negative and shit like that. But it is a programming condition that they've done to all of us. You know, and a lot of us don't even recognize it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we should be encouraging each other, but a lot of times we're not. A lot of times we're basically you know, we don't want to see another person succeed if we're not succeeding. You know what I'm saying? We don't want to see another person happy if we're not happy. You know? And it's all conditioned and stuff. So, you know, I got told today, 2 weeks ago when I was supposed to come on your show, we had to go to Macy's, get to Macy's, and, you know, she told like, oh, we're hungry, and so I ended up missing the call. And this happened before too. Like tonight, something similar happened where, you know, she took the kids to the mall, and then, you know, she couldn't roll up the line up to call in. I told her how to do it. She like, I don't know how to do it, what have you. So she has to come back. I have to drive her down to Target. As I'm driving to Target, you know, a police car in front of us all of a sudden stops. The police officer in the car turns off his lights and just stays in the middle of the street, like right in front of us now. Okay, so I have to go around them, and then on the way back, you know, another police car. Vehicle, I was turned onto a block with a police car vehicle passing by and stuff like that. And because I've also noticed that they have been microwaving us and using her, like whenever I'm about to leave, she would do things she use hand signals and stuff like that to get me to stay, right? Because, you know, she needs help with the kids so bad. So I didn't even get time to, like, you know, this would be my weekend by myself. And I'm still there. You know, so like I left this morning, came home, for a little bit, and actually not this morning, yesterday. I came home yesterday, just to, you know, just to get a breather, and then, you know, I went back to her house because she had a a baby shower to go to for one of our coworkers. So then she came back, and she left late. Now I wanted to leave. You know, she was supposed to be at this thing for 6 o'clock. And I told her, I said, listen, you know, you can go, but then when you come back, I'm going to leave. She didn't come back 10 minutes before. So guess what? I ended up staying. You know what I'm saying? So again, I've noticed at times they try to do things to prevent me from coming home to my house, right? And then when I'm at my house most of the time, then they'll do stuff to, you know, try to get me back to my house. You know what I'm saying? So what it is that what I figure is that, you know, whatever it is that they're up to, if it doesn't work, then they try something another way. And if that doesn't work, then they go back and try the other way. And it goes back and forth, back and forth. It's kind of like a yo-yo, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, a tug of war. You're going back and forth with the people and the shit that they're doing. You know? And then again, you know, you have to have the massive headaches. And, you know, I'm trying to study, you know, they attack me even more so that I don't even study. You know? So sometimes, like, I think lately I've been in that mode. It's like, you know what? And when I study not, shit doesn't really make a fucking difference. But I can't actually I can't really, I need to still study, still do what I need to do. If they put in that effort, even though I know they're going to attack me heavily, especially when I have a test, they do the street there, that they do in the classroom with the other students. You know what I'm saying? So they start mobbing me and stuff like that. And so, but I'm just like, whatever, man. I just take it easy. I don't let that shit bother me. If I feel it, I feel it. I just take it over. You know what I'm saying? And so I try not to let it stress me out too much. Like I said, from time to time, they're constantly using police. They try to hide what it is that they're doing. Also, maybe they've been using a lot of Hispanic women in my targeting now, so they went to using these white women and these Hispanic women. But they go back to using black women and so forth, and Asian women and so forth. So, it's like a recycle, rehash of the targeting over and over again, and that's what the first persuasion program does, right? It's a repeated attempt to manipulate you, to condition you, to do things in a repetitive manner. Because when you see things in repetition, it's a conditioning phase. And I say this a lot. When things are being done repeatedly in front of you, you're being conditioned. A lot of people may not recognize it, but you are being conditioned, So you gotta understand that. So Mike, if you don't mind, bringing up the fact that you got an yeah, man. So one of my classes, I finished my project ahead of time, and the professor gave me an A, man. Since he gave me that A, man, they have been targeting the crap out of me. And I mean heavy targeting, because, they don't want me to get, big grades, right? So they start targeting me, and again, that's probably the reason why also I kind of, the lack of concentration on my part. And then another class, I'm behind in my homework because, when I come home and I finish on the computer, they're monitoring my every move and shit like that, so they're outside honking their horns or with the sirens. You know what I'm saying? If I'm doing something, if I'm creating something and it's good, if I hit the sirens, the police sirens, shit like that. So anytime I progress, I make a generous effort to get a better grade. And if I hit the police sirens, and it's fire trucks, and what I'm saying, shit like that, it's a deterrent.
Right. I also wanted to ask you, now that I got you on the call, I got to see the latest video. I got to go back and check out the rest of your videos, but I got to see the latest video today, man. And I'm definitely concerned about that with, I believe it's Ethan. He's not wanting to go to school, and he's giving me, about having headaches and stuff like that. But,
yeah. Well, they've been targeting Ethan too. Emma looked at me. She told me that some kid punched her in the stomach at lunch. And I asked her, I said, did you see the person? She was like, no, she didn't see the person. So they do things in such a way that they're physically harming my children. They did it in ways that you can't see. So I'm saying, like I said, the fight that walked by in a group, one of them might have punched her or had you. And then Ethan, being smacked in the face, glasses being broken and shit like that, to the point where, at times he doesn't want to go to school. Okay? And, this is a bullying that continues. And like I said, the school faculty members at PSC, they're part of it. Make no mistake. Okay? Make no mistake. They are a big part of it. But when you look at kids who are being targeted at bullying in school, the faculty members, they know about it. It's brought to their attention, but they don't do anything. The reason why they don't do anything is because they are part of it. We are dealing with a cult, a religious cult. Okay? And, and this is the type of behavior. So you look at who participates in these types of brainwashing programs are government agencies, and other organizations, within a company, and what have you. And those in, those who are in religion, right? And so you look at whatever the religion is. You look at the Church of Scientology, they do the same shit. Okay, you look at the Catholic institution, they're all part of it. And this is, brainwashing and psychological conditioning. That's part of the ethical. And without a doubt, and there's a history of it. So I'm not just speaking because I don't know, but there's a history. If you do the research, you'll follow the history. You'll see it and understand. Right? In the 70s, they had so much issues with culture and brainwashing and shit like that. That's what you think they learned it from. They got from. There's an article that links Charles Manson to the CIA. Right? And that shit was real. Okay?
Makes sense.
These people came out the CIA. Right? You know, I remember listening to, remember that group, Chic? They're pretty big in the 70s. They did a lot of having for hits like Freak Out and Freak, that's all the Freak, and Everybody Dance and all this stuff, and Good Times, right? But I remember watching an interview with one of their founding members called Miles Rogers, right? He said that when he was 14 years old, he was walking on the street and Mr. White Man pushing him, calling him, say, hey man, whatever. But anyway, he said that he went with this white man in his home, right? And this white man gave him LSD. This white man kidnapped him for 4 days, but he didn't see it as a white man kidnapped him for 4 days. You know what I'm saying? He was like, 4 days, we tripped on LSD, we talked, the whole and news, whatever else, basically. You know what I'm saying? So if you look at what's happening now with that rich white guy, what he's doing, he's bringing these black men to his home and they all dying of fucking drug overdose. I forgot his name. You know what I'm saying? But it's in the news, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's three black men he brought to his home that all died of fucking drug overdose. You know this, right? This shit is recent, bro. Yeah. This shit in California.
Wow.
It really.
So what do we have here, like another Jeffrey Dahmer type motherfucker?
I don't know. But again, that actually remind me of he was saying at 14 years old. And guess what? The fucking person, the white guy who he went with, ended up being a psychiatrist. Who was part of the CIA, who was a part of the CIA doctors. And they developed the drug LSD. Remember, the CIA is the one that created the drug LSD. Yeah. Okay? So all these psychiatrists were given LSD to test it out.
I remember that.
So here they
were like bars and shit like that with like millionaires inside. A certain brothel, like a prostitution spot.
Yep. So I mean, I just want to show you, bro. Okay, that you have this grown-ass adult kidnapping a 14-year-old black boy. And I have no doubt that they probably helped Nile Rodgers' career. Okay, because he become very successful after that.
Almost like a sacrifice.
Yeah, exactly. But he was 14. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't talk about it. I'm like, dude, don't you realize what this people did to you? Before they
do you have like an article relating to that, to what you just saw?
Hold on a second.
Yeah, if you read,
I'll do better than that. I'll give you the interview. Let me find the interview.
right. That's even better. Word. I would like to put that up on the description box so people can check that out.
Okay. It is here.
That's some wild shit, man.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, bro. Okay, so let me see here. I just want to try to find the interview, the video interview. But there's an article, the interview that he did. I haven't read it, so I don't know if he talks about this stuff here. But let's see here. Okay, I think this is Absolute Radio. He's talking about this shit. He does the interview. Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, true. That easy shit. Yeah, exactly, man. That's what I'm saying, bro. A 14-year-old kid, man. He's 14 years old. A fucking kidnap his kid, get him in his house for 4 days and shit. Hooked on, get high off of fucking LSD, different LSD. Okay? You understand how evil some of these motherfuckers are? That's personified. Yeah, and we've been doing a lot of this shit within our community for a long time. Okay? We've been doing a lot of this shit, within our community, and they still do that shit. They still go do that. Like I said, we have modern day, non-human experimentation. So when I hear about experimentation in the past, like, this is no different. It's no different. It's just that we're different people, different times, different eras. The technology is more advanced. New drugs are created. Now they have the ability to implant chips, put a chip in your mind and they can turn thoughts and read your mind. Right? You can probably shut your brain down. Nope. I would have thought that. That's the eerie part about that shit. All that shit is possible now. You know what I mean? Yeah. All right. Let me show you the article. Let me the link. I'm gonna share it on my Facebook page, and I posted it on Facebook. Yeah, man. But that shit is. When I tell you that you were just like, wow, when I heard that shit, I'm watching these guys talk about this stuff, and I'm like, I'm shocked. I'm like, my fucking mouth is dropping to the floor, dude. I'm like, and the radio guy, he didn't really say nothing like that. He didn't say he's like, we don't come into the ass with each other and shit like that. When he was saying that, man, that's horrible. This guy kidnapped you when you were 14 years old. Why you had sex with you and all this shit while you were high on LSD, you know? But yeah, bro. That shit, man, wow. Alright, so let me see here. Alright, here we go. I'm sharing. I just got it. Alright, that's one. Let's get the rest.
just got the second one.
She's crazy, man. It's good.
Yeah, good looking at it.
Yeah, I'm more, man. I'm more coming out.
Oh, they both?
Yeah.
That's what's up. I'm going to put all that shit on the description, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I received that with you. Got that one also.
Yeah. There you go.
Appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Like I said, especially with we want no monitoring, they don't want nobody to know about this shit. Cool. You know, they know they have a huge legal battle on their hands with that shit. You know, in terms of privacy and torture and the psychological damaging of an individual, not only the psychological damaging, but also the neurological damage and the physical damage to the brain, to the person's body, you know? And so, yeah, so they have, they're worried and they need to be worried, you know what I'm saying? And they were banking on us being quiet about the shit that they're doing. You know, the minute I realized what it is, the minute I realized that what it is that they were up to and how they were, like basically it's like manipulating you, you know what I'm saying, manipulating the people around you, implanting you, and then trying to shut you up about it, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm like, that shit, I'm like, no.
Got the wrong guys, man.
Exactly. I mean, especially because we've been through this shit, not me and you, but we as a country and the American people have been through this shit before the fact. You know, with the MK Ultra and the COINTELPRO.
Absolutely. You know my story, man. As far as me being a child, they must have been one of the projects of the MK Ultra program that I know of.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when they talk about, we're advancing science, I'm like, advancing science, my ass. I'm just thinking that y'all can just experiment with human beings. And because, they feel like they're different. That's what it is. I'm like, shit, experiment in your own children. How about that? Right? You want to experiment in your own children, but you're going to go experiment on somebody else's child. You know, experiment on your life. You know what I'm saying? Your whole life. You're experiment on your own family. How about that? They're not going to do that shit. Right?
It's like one of the underground hip-hop artists from over in Harlem, the middle technique, he has a verse, man. I'm trying to remember how it goes more or less. I'm paraphrasing it. But he said something in relation to, they won't send their kids to serve in the infantry, but they'll send your son and daughter to serve. Yeah. Some shit, you know what I mean? And I was like, exactly. You know, they won't send their children.
Yeah.
So they're in your front line to go kill themselves or fight the wars, but they'll send their children to do it.
Yep. And a bunch of fucking hypocrites.
not, brother. You know what I'm saying? All right, man. You're the original. Yeah, man. No, it is that way sometimes, the way I see it, man. You know, I don't put it past this that the technology was used, you know what I'm saying? Because the weekend before last, nobody, man, I mean, nobody was like able to come in. Nappy was sick, you know what I'm saying? And that's weird how he got sick like that out of left field. Your brother was knocked out, he didn't get the notification. You know, I forgot what happened with you. This is not last week, but the week before last. And it was just real through 79. We weren't able to connect. You know what I'm saying? There was like issues with the communication, the phones. You know how they be doing us, man. So, you know, it was like, okay, we're going to do the next one the next day, like a part 2 type shit. Yeah. So I already told you what happened in relation to, you know, this is not from that time. This is like more recent, which was on that Monday of this past week. Yo, man, you motherfuckers is something else, man. I already told you and shit that not a finger, he thought quick and shit while it was happening in real time. I was recording the call Monday in the early afternoon, and 127 joined us, and we were doing a part 2 to the part 1 the night before. And all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, it was like maybe 45 minutes to an hour into the call. She was okay, everything was going and flowing just right. Next thing you know, I'm hearing a whole bunch of people just like talking so loud that I was like, yo, I went to investigate. Yeah. Then I'm hearing them that were on my floor, like where I reside at. And then I noticed that they had like construction with, you know, uniforms on, like helmets and vests and shit like that. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what the fuck? And they just lingering on my floor. So I go back and I tell, you know, this guy, yo, man, some weird going on, man. This cat's out here, like, I don't know, construction. Then you started hearing the bang, hammering. And I'm like, yo, y'all hear this shit? It's yo, what the fuck? So I decided to, you know what? I'm going to record this shit, because this shit is type odd. These motherfuckers came out of red bubble fuck and just started hammering on the floors. On my floor, I live at. Yeah, this is my door. And I was Sunday night too. No. This was not Sunday night. This was Monday afternoon. Okay. Monday early afternoon. And these motherfuckers just came out of red bubble fuck, like I said. They started hammering and shit like that. And I'm like, yo, y'all hammering this shit is there. So at one point, Madison was like, man, that's fucked up, man. Fuck these guys. It's pissing me off. I'm going to record these motherfuckers for you, R.T. I mean, no doubt. So he went, and he was smart about it, because what he did was he took his phone and put the call on loudspeaker. Then he turned his computer on, turned the screen recorder on, and started recording from there. And then it picked up, you know, not crystal clear, but you could pick up, like, you know, the bang was going on. You could hear, like, the police is talking in the background. Some of them are yelling, you know, and they were doing that purposefully because they were yelling every time they were close to my apartment door, you know. And then at times you would hear them get close enough to cough, whistle, you know, and shit like that, stupid shit. You know, periodically they try to mask it, like you say, you know what I mean? But you know that it was being done purposely. It was contrived. The coughing and the whistling was contrived. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And the kicker of the whole shit was when they cut the power to my building off for like 3 hours. Wow. And, you know, of course, you know, that's going to be a problem for people, you know what I'm saying? They got shit in the refrigerator, you know what I'm saying? You know, the thing is, hold on, real quick, man. I just want to get this on the record, man, real quick. Don't forget. You know, that should happen the way it happened. And I know that they were probably thinking, nah, don't put it back on, because he's going to go back and record it. They big damn straight I was going to do that. As soon as I was able to get power again, I was going to go right back in that motherfucker and try again, because they know how I get down. So they went and tried to make sure that didn't happen. And by them doing that, it was to neutralize the core and sabotage it completely, so it could be completely erased. And I can't retrieve it, because they knew I'm using OBS to, you know, as I'm using it right now. Yeah. So once that shit is shut down, you cannot retrieve that again. It's gone. So I had built some software. I had brought, you know, I got some like to me. But look, they already knew I did that because they watch us 24/7. So they knew I put all these things online and shit like that. Like, and they got here at a certain day or what have you. So the big deal was, no, he got software, he got a couple of tools, like, Time Machine for Apple iMac, and then external hard drive, which I bought also, just to make sure that wouldn't happen to me. But they knew that. So what they did was, I know he had his tools to be able to retrieve information back if he loses, the power. So what he's going to do is going to just shut the power down completely to neutralize the call, and it'll be erased. And that's exactly what they did. I just wanted to get that on the record, man, and, very nice. We'll take it away. Yeah.
No, I'll say, listen, man. You know that shit on purpose because they don't cut no power to no building in the afternoon and shit. They'll do that shit during the day and work. People out here, people in school. So they did that shit in the evening, so. Okay, because they know, so that's definitely a truth right there, so. And, especially after 5 o'clock, come on.
They did it at 1, like 1, 2, and 9 minutes.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, of course. They didn't do that shit like in the morning, though. You know what I'm saying? At that time, people, the kids are coming home from school, right? This thing that shit in there. Check it out for a big video dance. We want to see.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure. That was calculated.
Yep. Certainly was, yeah. Yes, it is. Well, it doesn't show you an extent, right? The extent of their ability. Exactly. That's what you gotta be even more diligent and shit like that. So, in addition like that, like it doesn't use that shit as fuel. Use that shit as fuel to come back and hit them with the 1-2 again. You know what I'm saying?
No doubt. You don't want to go to school.
Huh? Yeah, but on Friday, man, he did not want to go to school at all. I walked to school, I turned around, he came up behind me, hugged me, started crying. And I was like, I have to go talk to the office, man. And I just laid it out. I said, look, if I come back in here and to find out my son again, it's going to be some shit. I'm done. I ain't fucking talking no more. I'm going to bring his fucking cousins and son up in here. I'm beating on their little asses.
Yeah, I heard that.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't know with that shit. You know what I'm saying? They don't know. I told you, I said, forget going to the goddamn teacher. I said, somebody hit you, you smack the shit out of them. Or if it was a girl, you smack her ass back. If it was a boy, I said, you punch his ass back, you beat his ass, and you didn't even bother him. You're not even getting hit. I don't care what they try to do. You're going to take this shit to court, because I've been up there so many times. I've had reports written, because this girl pushed him off the damn wall, blew up his face and all that shit. And the thing is that they're getting aggressive to it. They need to get the girls to it, but they're getting aggressive to it. You know what I'm saying? So they're such a big target, and because, with the boys and shit like that, it's, especially young black boys, you know what I'm saying? They think that shit more serious to do. The girls doing it, they figure, this is going to happen to the girl. So I said, they smack their ass back. Okay?
That's it.
If they smack you back like it was an accident, smack their ass back and say that was an accident too.
Hey, what's good for the music?
Yep.
Good for the game for the year.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that Asian guy too. Saw the video.
Oh yeah, you said it, yeah. You came in there, look at him, man. That motherfucker was out there ready for the kick when I wanted to get to school. You know what I'm saying? And then when I left, right, because I had left, I forgot the kids off, he was just standing on the sidewalk. You know, because I think to myself, okay, it's kind of odd that he's just standing on the sidewalk, you know? He just stopped these motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's just like walking their kids to school, dropping their kids off there, they're going down the merry way. So these motherfuckers, they have to hang around. You know what I'm saying? And you can tell they have to hang around. I see them up in the room, they need to be sitting, waiting. You know what I'm saying? And then when I got the kids off and I'm leaving, then they'll get up, they start walking in front of me and shit. So was going to this too, because when I would walk up on my way back to the house, and then I turned back around, I was like, I need to go to the office, talking about this shit. And then, so when I was walking back, here he came across the street again. Yeah, so I just didn't have to signal him that I was going to talk to whoever. So they try to use him like as some type of threat towards me. You know what I'm saying? Like if I was complaining with the officer about the target, the bullying of my son, and such, they were going to use this video, Harry. I'm like, fuck y'all. I'm like, I don't care who y'all want to use. And again, they do some shit like, sometimes they use these young teenage girls and shit to try to play that pedophile thing with me. You know what I'm saying? Or they're going to get them to accuse me of, some sexual shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's all they can do. I'm like, go ahead. Right? Okay? And again, on the report that I just read about the FBI using minors, even with the parents who know. So the parents are tricking our babies to the fucking FBI. Yep. Right? So, you know what I'm saying? And they do shit with the NYPD too. So, wow. Yeah. This is the shit that's going on. This shit is documented, but ain't nobody can sit and tell you that this shit don't happen. You know what I'm saying? If they say that shit happen, they're ignorant, or they're fucking part of it, and they're trying to deny to protect themselves from it. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. It's definitely not happening. I come into my house and shit, it's like everybody in my house talking to me. You know what I'm saying? Or it's just like, yeah, so I don't even know the rappers, like I said. I just walking out and meeting my nephew, his kids in here, and they probably in my hand behind the head, signal shit. They can't wait to get in front of me so they can swipe their head, put their hand behind their head and swipe it down. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I said, they do that shit, and they're slick too, because, they don't turn around and come back the other way to face it. They'll stay, they know it's coming. Yeah, exactly. So they're staying where they're at until I go to my bedroom and then they walk back. Just literally. Look at that shit. I'm like, wow. You would think the way they set up, it was going to be worse. But it wasn't. Some of the things we let up. Yeah. What happened? No, it's really something. Oh, okay. I was telling you about it. Set up. I had thought it was going to be a lot worse. But with targeting, it wasn't that good. Yeah, because it's clear. You know what I'm saying? So they have to put some of that focus on me too. You know what I'm saying? Right. If they call to put some of that focus on you. And you by yourself is much more concentrated. If you with somebody else or group of people, you know what I'm saying? They have to, you know what I'm saying? Because we're targeted a little differently. A lot of shit is the same. It's all a little different. So they're not gonna be as full on targeted as they normally would when you're by yourself. Right. Exactly. Oh, hell yeah. What do you do? Yeah? No, just something, kind of too bold to stay on the call, but it's on Facebook, you know what I'm saying? So I think people just talk on the Facebook. Oh, okay. So, yeah, man. So, so that's the gist of it, So that's why they try to keep us separated as TIs, you know what I'm saying? Because it's easy for them to target us when we're by ourselves. When we're together, and that's why they notice. That's why they infiltrate most TIs, most organizations, that have a lot of members, TIs, and they cause infighting and stuff. And I just don't understand how the fuck can't those TIs see that? Like, you have TIs talking about this shit, and they're can't see the infiltration going on in their group.
Yeah, that shit is bullshit, bro. I don't think that, man. See, over anyone else, man, now, I'm not claiming to be perfect or anything like that. I'm a human being. I can make errors like anyone else, right? But we've yet to see that happen in our particular squad, man. Because I make sure that I try my best, man, to handpick each person that's in our squad. You know what I'm saying? Now, shit does happen, you know, and people could go and, you know, or whatnot, and, you know, that's what they're choosing. You know what I'm saying? If they don't go and they're not happy, or they feel that, you know, what we're doing is not something that they're interested in continuing, or they're totally, you know, off of that. Like, they have the right to do that. But as far as being plucked on this call, that hasn't happened. You know what I'm saying? And it will happen because I feel that the people who have been hand selected are genuine EI/TIs, man. And we are out to try to expose, document what happens to us, and educate. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's why I looked at other calls in the past, man, when I first started off, man, especially the FFCHS joints, man. Mm-hmm. Man, you know, it's going to happen because when you're coming into something brand new and you're trying to get information, you're going to get caught up with that shit because those are the first, you know, phishing sites that you come out with. They're not calling phishing sites because they put them out there purposely to fish for real TIs that come up so they can catch them. So they can continue traumatizing them, you know, because I recall being on calls and having motherfuckers talking about something that happened to me that day. And they even talking about it on the call. So it was a little psychologically gaslighting me on the call. You know, but they of course try to make it seem like it was someone else, third person, shit like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then, you know, describing a scenario and, you know, and I'm like, yo, these motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow, really, it's like that. You know, but little by little, I had to discover that on my own until I realized, man, that not everybody that claims to be a TI is a TI.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, I learned that a long time ago, man, by reading Mark Richards' The Hidden Leaves of PDF. And there's one part, which I was like, yo, this is absolutely true to the experiences. And he talks about how, you know, that there are these infiltrators in the TI community, and they're very convincing in terms of, you know, convincing you that they are actually TI. Until they get you in a situation where they feel they have the upper hand, and they can do something to you, right? And then that's where they show their true self. You know, and he was like, you have to be very, very careful that when that happens, if you do appear like that when that happens, that it doesn't deter you from getting together with another TI. You know, but he says what you need to do is that, you know, it's like, you know, you can expose them if you want. If you expose them, they're going to just call you a perp too also. So he just said, just sit back, wait, and watch how it plays out. And eventually they're going to do it to somebody else. And if that person calls them out of it, then you jump on the bandwagon and say, yeah, that person is going to give me too. So now there's two. So there's two people now within the community who say that this person is a perp. And you need to watch out for that person, right? And, you know, he was like, yeah, this was, and especially if it's the same thing and you guys can corroborate the stories being the same way, or have you. He said, yeah, then you know that that person is a TI. He said, you just got to be very, very careful because when that happens, then it destroy your trust in any other TIs that you may have. And, you know, again, that's to put you into the isolation mode.
Right. Absolutely. I remember you telling me about that a while back, man. And now that you re-entered the story on that, it makes total sense. And I didn't remember every single detail that you told me. So it's even better that you said it again so I could get like my mind refreshed behind it, man. And it makes total sense, man. Total sense to do it that way. Makes things a lot easier to look forward to connecting with good guys and sift through the fake ones, you know what I'm saying? Because you're going to come across those. A discerning spirit is not easy to attain, but through experience, you can definitely learn your own way through how to take them out, man, and not to join what have you, groups and things of that nature. I remember this particular thing you told me before, guys, if you don't mind mentioning it. You said that you had gone to a TI meeting here in New York at one point in the day. Can you tell us that story, man, to get on the record?
Yeah. So I had went to a TI meeting at one of the New York Public Library, right? Which is on, I think it's 6th Avenue and 33rd, something like that. So anyway, so we're there and we're talking, and there's other TI agents that you guys taking everybody pictures, So, I think, I'm not sure, so I was like, man, you shouldn't be taking people's pictures with these TI. And, nobody, I was like, I don't know you, why the hell are you taking my picture? You didn't even ask, at least ask, you know what I'm saying? But, this is the thing that tells us that, I'm different. Like, if I was taking pictures of people, I'd be like, can I have information to take a picture? Because, again, I know what it's like being a TI, people just start taking your pictures out there in the street, what has person is very uncomfortable. And so so I was there and I was like, at the time, I just kind of got the feeling that, and then on top of it too, that they had everybody meet out in front of the library, so it's like, out in the open, you know what I'm saying? It's like, let's go in the library. There's rooms in there, let's go in the library. And again, then we had this guy, I haven't heard much from him anymore, Timothy White, Harry, and come to find out he's supposed to be some type of computer expert, Harry. And I'm like, well, why isn't this dude sharing information with the TI community about how to protect ourselves online and stuff like that? Nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? And so you always have to be very cautious of people within our community who claim to be expert at certain things, but then offer you no advice in, in that field, particularly if you're a computer expert and you're into security and all that, cyber security and all that stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? But a lot of them, they just want money. So they're all that, well, I'll help you, but you got to pay, and I'm just like, see, that's not me. You know what I'm saying? If information I can help the TI community, I give it freely. Because again, I understand that as TIs, a lot of us, the majority of us are just barely surviving. Some of us are on disability, some of us may be working, maybe not, making, a significant amount of money, anything like that. And so, again, you just have to be really careful. But in that, I think I went twice. And then after the second time, I stopped going because I'm like, there are some very well hidden perks within these groups. Okay? And that is just something that I was just like, I just did not feel comfortable with. And so after the second meeting, I never went back. And there's another TI that I met in the city also. And I was really a woman, she's a woman. And I met up with her, and she was targeting the crap out of me, man. And I stayed calm. I didn't, I wasn't doing no hand signals to her or anything like that. I was very cautious to say, well, she's a TI, let me not do something. You know what I'm saying? So I'm talking to her, and she's talking to me, and she just targeted me, too. And I was like, okay, she is definitely a perpetrator. You know what I'm saying? Definitely a perpetrator. Because she came on my call a couple of times, was talking to me. And I'm like, okay, we can meet up and have you. Yeah, she was definitely a perpetrator. She was very aggressive on her target. Okay? Normally, if you're a TI expert with the technology, you'll get slight targeted, but this woman was aggressive as shit in the target. You know what I'm saying? And I always knew, like I said, I always know the effect of what they're trying to do, trying to basically get you into this paranoid state again, right? Which hasn't worked, And, I just kind of was very, after a while, I was very cautious about meeting, these TIs, because this is what they do, and it's meant to isolate you and then take away trust. They're saying that you can never give up. I'm saying you can never give up. You got to trust in yourself and the fact that, if you're giving out information and information is going to help someone with and they realize that, hey, you know what, this help, because these people don't want to help us at all, right? So ain't no way Perps are going to give information that's going to help you or I or any other TI, right? That shit is not going to work, right? So when you find TIs who give you information that help you, that's the TI, one of the TIs that you need to get in contact with, right? That you need to be around, because you have that same passion to want to expose, to want to share, to want to help, and so that's how you got to be. But when you get into meeting TIs, particularly certain groups of fashion and settings, you got to watch them. You got to watch what some of them do, and then you got to call them out on some of the things too, right? You cannot be still like us saying, hey, and you shouldn't be taking pictures of everybody, you know? You need to act, you know what I'm saying, act. You know most of these TIs are very paranoid and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is that nobody else in the group that would be. Remember? The day Nigel stepped away for a second, and then he must have had a call or something's going on in the background at home with his children. He came to the home. That's okay. It's happened. You know. I'll see if I can get back on the call. That's now. Yeah. Yeah, you got call. Yeah, no, I know. You know it is already, right?
Yep.
Yep. You start dropping some truth bombs and shit, and then they say some shit, and they get fucking. They're like, nope, you can't have us speaking on that. Yeah, because it's a penny all over the board. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, definitely keep saying that you were talking about, man, because I appreciate the knowledge base that you're coming from. I want to just put on the record what has been said before, but I want to correlate it with the topic we were talking about. How many years have you been in your awareness of being a TI/TI, Nigel? And it's almost 20 years, man. Going on 20 years. Going on 20 years. So whoever hears this upon playback, understand this is coming from a veteran TI/TI. What he said, not someone who just woke up now or has been, in the TI field, for a few weeks or a year or two. Over 20 years experience talking here. Mm-hmm. I know that you're not going to come out and say something that didn't happen or embellish a story. Not like you're going to say it how it is, the way you've always been, from what I'm able to determine from you, Nigel. So, whoever listens to this, you got to take it for what it's worth. If you don't want to believe it, that's fine. You got to do your own judgment and go through your own journey in your lives as TIs that have been recently awoken. But I definitely advise you and suggest to you that you take heed to what Nigel Nicholson has been saying, because a prime example of a person who has listened to him and has gotten thus far is me. And that's behind things that before I knew what was happening psychologically with the operations that were being deployed on you on a regular, a definition to be put next to it, like the dark NLP tactics and, the setups and the provocational skits and all that. Before I knew about any of that shit, I was falling into them left and right. Until Nigel Nicholson came in and put a light on the situation, so to speak, and I was able to see clearly now. You know what I mean? And I'm still here to tell the tale. And I created my channel. You also advised me and suggested that I would create my channel and put it in a certain way, which hold all comments for review for obvious reasons, because if you don't do that, everyone and their mother can leave commentary on there. Now, some people say, well, what's wrong with that? You're censoring people. No.
what we're doing is we're preventing the bloods from putting up shit that is going to subliminally target us and other generations die. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I've been following pretty much the steps that Nigel has guided me toward, and I've been great ever since. So I want to thank you again, get that on the record, Nigel, brother. You know, you've definitely been a great help in my life, and I'm sure in other people's lives that are TIs that haven't spoken to you yet, but eventually will, hopefully, when they're ready and they get the courage to do it. You know, because, listen, you know, we only got, man. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody helping us. So we got to help ourselves, you know. And the people that I've been taught to listen to are the people that have been in the game for a lot longer than I ever was. Okay? And not only that, people who want to help you, people who show you that they're interested in teaching you what's going on. They are not invested in something because they're getting some money out of it or they're getting some sort of favor. You know, they're doing it because they want to actually help you. That is Nigel Nicholson. That is Neo Nicholson. You know what I'm saying? Nappy Head Roots, Night of Thunder, World True 7, myself, R.T. T.I. in New York City. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to bring y'all the real for what it's worth. A lot of it might sound fucked up. A lot of people don't hear that shit. You want to tune it out. They're like, I don't want to hear that. You don't understand their bubble. I understand that. But you see, it's going to hurt when they burst your bubble and you don't even know what the fuck is going on once you're out of that bubble and you're trying to gauge what's happening around you. By that time, it won't be too late if they got you. So I would advise people, not trying to scare people, not trying to get people in a frenzy of panic or anything like that. What I'm trying to do is point y'all towards the right direction in regards to getting factual information about what this program is about and what it is entitled to do. What is the point of it? What is the direction of it? Why are they doing it? How are they doing it? All of that. You know what I'm saying? And then steps to protect yourself. Steps to look out for. Because if I were recently working TI and I would have been like looking through channels and shit, nowadays you got like a ridiculous amount of fake TIs on there. And I'm going to do that for a reason. That's not by chance that that's happening. That's by design. I realize that. But nevertheless, I was recently working TI and I fell victim to one of these new channels that are supposedly real TIs, and when they come out and they tell me, hey man, you should come to the meeting that we're having. I'm like, they're doing that because I'm like, hey, you know what, more? There's more of us? There's more people like this. So, you get caught up in the whole emotions of it. Yes, I walk into what, it's called like a CIA trap, where they have people there taking the pictures, like Nigel said. Some TIs are conditioned and sensitized to having birds come around and taking selfies up in front of you. But whether they're trying to get their picture of you in the back, or they're trying to, at the same time, gaslight you into knowing that you're being covertly watched and shit like that. Yeah. So by doing that, they're letting you know that they're a part of it. But at the same time, if you're not doing that for that reason, you're looking guilty anyway. Because you shouldn't be taking pictures of any TI in a setting like that, knowing the trauma that these people have gone through. You know what I'm saying? So that's a no-no. That's a given. That should be automatic. But is it automatic? No. Because these motherfuckers are embedded within these groups to do that exact thing. Re-traumatize us. You know what I mean? And it's up to us to try to guide the recently awakened ones to not fall into that trap. But we ain't trying to force nobody to do anything. We're not trying to tell you, you should do it because I don't know. Like in the movie Malcolm X, when Elijah Muhammad gave Denzel Washington that played Malcolm X the whole example of the glasses of water. He took a glass of water, he took like an ink type of thing, put the ink inside the clear water and it turned black. He looked at Malcolm, he said, water, foul, right? Dirty water. He goes, now, you can offer this to the people and they'll drink it if they're thirsty. Then they both laughed. And he blows a clear water, right? He goes, now, you offer these to the people and you let them make their own decision. And that's how you do it here with this particular situation. You got this group over there doing that. You got this group over there doing that. Not naming no names because that's not my style, right? Then you got us over here. Y'all make your decision on who y'all feel is dropping the real science behind shit. And that's all I got to say about that, man. Nigel, any other words, man?
Not really, man. I mean, it's just it's spot on, you know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing, like I said, you know, you as a PI, you know, you have to value the people in the community that is, you know, that open your eyes to what's going on and also want to help you. And also, when you're around them, they're aware that you're a PI just as they are, and they don't do things in front of you so that will, you know, make you uncomfortable in any way, right? Triggering it anyway. You know what I'm saying? And so that's very important that, you know, we as PIs, we need to be self-aware that, you know, not only you know, we're targeted the same way, but if we're not careful in terms of how we get in front of the other PIs, they really feel like, you know, we're targeted. And so I try to do one thing that I did, I remember when I was in the bioethics conference in Washington, D.C., and I was, you know, at times when we were talking in, because at the hotel, we were other PIs, we were talking, and, you know, my face started scratching, itching me, my ears, my mouth started itching me, and I told myself, excuse me, I went to the bathroom, washed my face, scratched my face, all that stuff, went back out there, and I was like, okay, I'm good. You know, because, you know, they're using the technology on us, you know what I'm saying? And I could look at the other PIs there and I could see it, because they were all doing hand signals to each other, you know what I'm saying? Including doing hand signals to me, and I was just kind of like, okay. And I was like, okay, I'm going to technology, because again, you know, they were touching their face and doing all this stuff too. And my face, I know their face and ears and stuff, and I was stitching them. And when I realized what was going on, I just kind of like went to the bathroom, you know, get that scratch going, and then came back out, and I was good. But that's me, you know what I'm saying? That's why, you know, because if I see something that's being done to me that's harmful to me and doing, you know, making me feel a certain way, I'm not going to turn around and do that to other people. I'm going to always remember, you know, what it is that made me feel uncomfortable, how I was being targeted, and, you know, the one thing is that I don't want any other PI who's around me to feel that way. You know what I'm saying? Okay. No problem. Yeah. Yeah, bro, so that's it, man. That's all.
All right, David. At this point, I'm going to end up shutting down the call. It was a great call between you and I, Nigel. The originals, like you said, man, nothing wrong with that, man. Going back to the basics, man. Yeah. To be that way sometimes, you know what I mean? Well, we dropped a lot of stuff in there, especially you. Well, thank you for reading that article, or multiple articles, actually, that you got on there. And thank you for sending me those links. I will definitely be adding them within the description for people to check out on their own later. At this point, I'd like to say good night to everybody, and thank you for taking the time to listen to this call, and we'll be back with another one. I want to give this heads up to my world viewers, or our world viewers, actually. My live streaming ability will be coming back in a couple of weeks, so look out for that. I'll definitely have some new stuff to share with y'all once I get that ability to do so. And that's pretty much it for me. This is RTTI in New York City, and Nigel Nicholson signing out for the night. Now, Nige, if you want, we can continue to call privately, but I don't know if you want to continue. I don't know if you're tired, you want to go to sleep, or you got
Yeah, no, I got some more study I got to do, so I'm gonna get this. So we'll talk, tomorrow or something.
Yeah, for sure, man, because actually, you know my time frame, man. I don't know what time you get out of school. What time is that you get out?
Yeah. Tomorrow, I get out early, tomorrow, but I'm gonna stay because I have some, work that I need to do.
All right, but I'll text you if anything, man.
Yeah.
All right, Nige, you have a good night, brother. Thank you, man.
No problem. All right, have a good night.
Good night, brother. Y'all, this is RTTI in New York City once again. And good night for now. And we'll be back next weekend with another one.
Ladies and gentlemen, the very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. That I do not intend to permit to the extent that it's in my control. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, could interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. No president should fear public scrutiny of his program, for from that scrutiny comes understanding, and from that understanding comes support or opposition, and both are necessary. I am not asking your newspapers to support an administration, but I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people, for I have complete confidence in the response and dedication of our citizens whenever they are fully informed. I not only could not stifle controversy among your readers, I welcome it. This administration intends to be candid about its errors. For as a wise man once said, an error doesn't become a mistake until you refuse to correct it. We intend to accept full responsibility for our errors, and we expect you to point them out when we miss them. Without debate, without criticism, no administration and no country can succeed, and no republic can survive. That is why the Athenian lawmaker Solon decreed it a crime for any citizen to shrink from controversy. And that is why our press was protected by the First Amendment, the only business in America specifically protected by the Constitution, not primarily to amuse and entertain, not to emphasize the trivial and the sentimental, not to simply give the public what it wants, but to inform, to arouse, to reflect, state our dangers and our opportunities, to indicate our crises and our choices, to lead, mold, educate, and sometimes even anger public opinion. This means greater coverage and analysis of international news, for it is no longer far away and foreign, but close at hand and local. It means greater attention to improved understanding of the news, as well as improved transmission. It means, finally, that government at all levels must meet its obligation to provide you with the fullest possible information outside the narrowest limits of national security. And so it is to the printing press, to the recorder of man's deeds, the keeper of his conscience, the courier of his news, that we look for strength and assistance, confident that with your help, man will be what he was born to be, free and independent.